Hey everybody, Blake here again at the Florida Keys History and Discovery Center, looking more at our Mote Marine exhibits that we have here. And today I'm going to be talking about the foods that we feed our animals here. So I'm going to be going through what all our creatures get to eat, and you guys can see how spoiled they are in their diets. So we're just going to go from left to right here and talk about the different foods that we have for all of our animals. So I'm going to be starting down here. And this is the food that we feed to our lionfish. So it is silver sides, and they are a type of bait fish. Here is one we have right here. So it's a small fish. And what we'll do is we'll cut this up into more manageable portions for them. And we like to do is all of our animals here, they get fed frozen foods, and this is to help give them the type of diet that they would see out in the wild, and try and replicate that so that they're getting all of their different nutrients and all their different supplements, something that you wouldn't get per se in a dry food like a flake, a fish flake, or fish pellet. So we have our silver sides here, and then we'll move on down the line. This here is Mysis Shrimp. So the Mysis Shrimp is a very small shrimp here. So we have some in this little dish here. Let me see if I can pull it out, and we'll put it over here. And I'll come back to this. We can compare the different types of foods that we have here and see the different sizes. But the Mysis Shrimp, like I said, is a small shrimp, and we feed this to our smaller fish. So in our soft coral exhibit, we'll feed that to the neon gobies that we have over there, the blue chromis, and then a couple of the new animals that we put in there, the blue tang, and some of the shrimp as well. Next up, we have our frozen shrimp. So it's exactly like what you would get in a restaurant, just a frozen cocktail shrimp. And this gets fed to our lionfish as well, but this also gets fed to our lobster, and then our French angelfish, and our puffer fish. So for our lobster, all we do for it is we'll remove the tail here, and we'll thaw it out. And we'll just feed that to him whole with the shell still on it. And that gives him his calcium so that he can keep his himself nice and healthy. Whenever he has to molt, he has that calcium in reserve to create his new molt. But then when we feed it to our lionfish and our puffers and our French angel, we'll go ahead and we'll take that shell off, and we'll feed it to them just so that it's just the meaty parts. Next up, we have our krill. Now, krill is just another species of shrimp. It's a little bit larger, and this is for some of our larger fish. So pretty much the majority of the fish in this exhibit, their main diet is going to be this krill. Then we have some more Mysis Shrimp. This is just a different brand, but this Mysis Shrimp comes from a different region, so it is going to be a little bit larger. So I like to mix up their variety in their diets so they're not getting one thing all the time. And it just helps them to, like I said, get a nice variety like they would mimic out in the wild. We have some seaweed. This is the exact same stuff that you get at sushi restaurants on sushi rolls, but we use it for our fish. So A lot of our fish in this tank will eat the seaweed, but we're mainly putting it in there for the tangs because they are omnivores, so they're eating a lot of algae out there on the reefs, picking at the rocks, eating algae that they can find. And like I said, just give them a nice well-balanced diet. And then we're moving on into our coral foods. So corals are animals as well, and they have mouths and they need to eat. They are photosynthetic, so they can get their energy from the sunlight. Obviously in here they would be getting it from the lights that we have on our tanks, but we will supplement their diet with some foods to help them grow. So we have all these different types of foods. They get spoiled, they get different foods all the time, but we're feeding them things such as phytoplankton, oyster eggs, fish eggs. They're getting, other types of phytoplankton with added nutrients. They're getting different types of proteins and different eggs, and then they're getting zooplankton as well. So what we'll do is we'll take these foods and we'll mix them up, and they're a liquid food. We'll mix them up and we'll just broadcast feed. We'll take it and we'll just dump it into the tanks and we'll let the pumps circulate it around, and the corals will grab it and pull it out of the water column with their little polyps, their tentacles, and they'll eat it. And then lastly, I know I've touched upon it once before, but with all of our foods, what we'll do is we'll soak their foods in vitamins, and that's to help them keep the fish nice and healthy. That way we don't have any unwanted diseases or parasites being introduced into the tank. But we'll go ahead and I'll pull one out of here, and I said I was going to show the different sizes of the foods that the animals are getting fed. So we can see here, obviously we've got our regular shrimp, and then we have our krill right here, and then these are two different species of Mysis shrimp down here. So you can see, the different size foods for the different sized mouths of our animals we have on exhibit here. And then I guess I'll go ahead and I'll grab that silver side here, and we can see that the lionfish eat. So our animals here are very, very spoiled in that they get the best foods that we can get for them to keep them nice and happy, and again replicate what they would be eating out in the wild. But I'll go ahead and I will feed our tank here as we always do, but I'd like to touch upon some of the new additions to our tank here. So we took on quite a few more animals here from our Key West exhibit. So in our main tank here, we added in these lovely little blue guys here. These are the blue chromis. So there are 3 new ones there. We added in a juvenile blue tang, which is this yellow guy here. We added a couple more plainhead filefish in here. Right now, if you remember last time we talked about the fish that we added in here, we had already added 3 plainhead filefish in here. We added 2 more, so now that brings our total up to 5. We added in a harlequin bass, which is this white and black spotted guy down here in front of this coral. He might be a little tough for you guys to see at home, but if you ever stop by, we can point him out for you. We added in our Cuban hogfish, which is this red and yellow guy. Now, if you remember before, we had a Cuban hogfish, and sadly we lost him, and this is our new Cuban hogfish. And then I think we added in a couple hamlets. So here's one of our species of hamlets, and then there's another one swimming around in here somewhere. Their exact species slip my mind right now, but they are in there. But you can tell these guys are very hungry right now, so what we'll do is I'll go ahead and climb up there and I'll feed them. So we are going to feed them. We'll feed, let's see, we're gonna feed our krill here. We're gonna feed our Mysis shrimp, our shrimp, and then of course we can't forget our seaweed here. So let me grab one sheet and I'll go ahead and I'll climb on up there. So keep an eye on the tangs that we have in here, the blue tang and the ocean sturgeon. They are the ones that the algae is primarily for, but then we'll get the French angel picking at it and the puffer fish and then some of the snapper as well. And here we have Larry coming on over, so I'll see if I can get Larry his shrimp real quick. We'll get him out of the way. There. All right, Larry's got his shrimp. Remember I said he gets the one with the shell still on it. And I'm gonna go ahead and dump the krill in here. So there's the krill in the water, and now there is the Mysis shrimp. And lastly, I'm going to tear up this other shrimp that I have here, and remember that this is going to be for our French angel and for our puffer fish, and I'm sure our pork fish will eat some of it too. But it's really for whoever gets to it. So everybody's eating their food, looking really good. But I think that about wraps it up for today. So I thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you learned a little bit today about how we take care of our fish here and how they get the best foods that we have available for them. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you next time.